world and a lot to talk about. We're going to break it down really fast, and I want to have a quick update here. I don't want to lose you. So looking at Bloomberg, we have China, COVID unrest boils over as citizens defy lockdown efforts. Now, there was a video of a fire in an apartment building burned down. Sadly, people were locked inside due to COVID. Lots of people died. A lot of protests because of that. You have Radio Free Asia over here talking about how there's protests against Xi Jinping, and there's 13 major protests. Okay, so this is major stuff. Now, the reason why it's so major is because not only are we seeing mass protests, but we're actually seeing people fight the police. You know, in the past especially, if there is going to be a protest, it's going to be either approved or be allowed by the police. And there are protests. They're not violent. But here we're seeing people really rise up against the police. And it's a really scary time, right? And you also have here the New York Times as well, you know, Shanghai and other cities, over the COVID controls. The truth is there's a lot more to it than just that. There's a lot of people with lots of different reasons that are upset with the CCP. And I'm going to give you a really important insight here about how the government's control over people work. Now, I'm basing this not on my personal real knowledge of China, but there was a book by, I think it's Yuan Heng. I'll try and look it up. But he had a very interesting analysis, and that was that pretty much the central government has local governments. And so when there was fraud, when there were all these different problems going on within China in the past, what the central government would actually save the people and remove those local government leaders, and they would tell the local populace, listen, the fraud was happening here at the local level. We've solved it. We're solving your problem. It's never the central government's fault. But here with COVID, I think, this is my own opinion, of course, based off of what I understood of his writings, and he's actually, I think, very pro-CCP, and he was highlighting a very powerful thing the CCP has on its behalf. But here with COVID, the CCP is the one who instituted the zero COVID measures, the one who's instituting the lockdowns, the one who's instituting all these different things. So, I think that at the end of the day, people are realizing that it's not the local government or official that's causing so much problem, but in fact, it's the central government that's changing QR codes, changing, whether they have a red, health issue, they were near someone who had COVID, they can't go out. And this is affecting a lot of people directly, and it's clear that it's the government. And a lot of people have other problems, right? The mortgage and the housing crisis. There's lots of things going over. They're all boiling over now, right? The economy is having a lot of trouble. Obviously, zero COVID's not helping. So there's an enormous amount happening right now, and it is boiling over. And here's the scary part. Something is going to give, in my humble opinion. In my humble opinion, we have a very scary fork in the road here. One of those, for example, is what do the police do? If the police side with the protesters, well, then that means that the government is somehow going. Are they just getting rid of Xi Jinping? Are they getting rid of the whole CCP? If they get rid of just Xi Jinping, that's, let's say, going to be bad internationally because China is still a juggernaut. I don't mean to say bad, it's not zero-sum, but let's say people competing with China, it'll be bad for them. However, if they get rid of the whole CCP, there could be total civil unrest. So, for the Chinese people, that's not what I want. Now, the other side of this is, of course, if the police side with the government, and that will also be quite cruel. There, I'm sure, will be a lot of loss of life, which will be extremely sad as they crush protests. And we're really going to see what's happening. We're seeing this type of thing happening in Iran. There's a lot of unrest. And the scary thing is that could also lead to a lot of decisions to have conflicts outside of their borders to distract people, focus them in on an outside enemy. Right? There's a lot of different things that could happen, especially as people in the leadership positions of these countries get very nervous about their hold on power, what they might do in a reaction. Okay, now in terms of the stock market, how does this factor in? Because this is a tricky one, but it's important to know what's going on. So here you can see from December 2021, you can see that we've been pretty much in a channel going downwards. We discussed this many times. That was likely to go down, and we've seen it happen now, right? And throughout all the bear rallies, it really has not breached this channel. And right now we're in a bear rally for the last little bit, and we have not really breached the channel. So for me, we're still going down. Yes, temporarily we're going up, and we have this small little upward channel within the bigger downward channel. But for us to be breaking this downward channel, we really have to break above. Where that is exactly, I don't know. Right now, like tomorrow, it would have to be breaking 4,100 roughly. but you'd want to break it with a little bit more. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going down any further, but it does mean that the whole downward trend, this momentum, is kind of broken. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say we break out over the next month, and I'll tell you how that could happen. Well, we could still dip back into the channel. If we really break out, we could still dip back in, but we might set up a new positive trend in the positive direction. How long that will go, I don't know. Not saying it'll go for a year. I have no idea. But it means the downward trend will be broken. Right now, the key is it has not been broken. So I would be putting money, especially as we get closer to the top, on things continuing to sour. How does that happen? Well, there's a lot of different potential issues. For example, and these are the two different directions, and we have to listen to what the market's going to tell us, right? As we come over here, you might want to remove some of your money from the market, for example, and just see how things play out. Do things increase in value? What is going on, right? So that's in my humble opinion, a very important strategy. Why? Because let's say China collapses. That could be two different approaches depending on the stock market, right? That could be, oh, we've lost a competitor. All this manufacturing, will outsource it to other countries, and we don't have to worry about China taking over, the world. So that could be a positive, right, to break out of this channel. On the negative side, though, there's a lot of companies that do an enormous amount of manufacturing in China, like Tesla, all these different places, and they're all selling to China. They're all going to grow in China. Well, if that disappears, that could be a major negative for the stock market, as well for the economy, the American economy, which has so much money tied up in China, so much investment in China, and so much actually currency, right, being borrowed by China, right? Imagine they don't just default, right? What's going to happen to all that American money that's being lent out that just disappears? There's an enormous amount of value that just got destroyed. That could be pretty scary, right? We saw with the default crisis before China was, handling that, there was a lot of uncertainty in the market. Okay, but on the other hand, right, over here you can see November, December, there was still this uptrend, this big uptrend. I mean, most of it actually happened in October, but nevertheless, near the end of the year, right, the Santa Claus rally, right? So there's a very strong possibility that we continue going up because of that idea, and we break in the positive direction. On the other hand, we have the union strikers, the train workers, all these people, possibly shipping getting shut down. Who knows what could happen? And so that's what I see. There's a lot of things boiling over, and all you need is just a general feeling of people saying, you know what, I made a lot of money in the past month or two. I'm going to take my money out right now, or I'm going to sell. This is, everything's been going badly and I've just been doing well. I'm going to sell and I'm going to take my losses and minimize my losses, right? That's all you need for this to continue, and then that feeds on itself. And people will take the news articles whichever way they are, right? Whatever, that's my humble opinion. They'll take the sentiment, and maybe it'll be a spark in the pan, but in my humble opinion, we are continuing to go down, and until I see otherwise, that's what I'm going to assume. Now, we have gone down quite far, right? Over here, we were reaching the pre-pandemic highs, which is pretty crazy that's how low we got. And it's crazy to me that we're going to get below that if it continues with this downward trend. But like I said, until we break the downward trend, I'm not betting on it continuing upward, right? And that's the key. That's the key from my perspective. Doesn't mean it can't break it, but I'm going to wait for the market to show me. And there's a lot happening, especially in China, right? The whole country could dissolve. The power of the government could just switch, the whole government system. It could open up, right? There's so many different options of what's happening over there and so many ways of reading it. But it's key and important to know what's going on and to keep your finger on things and to understand things. And just take a breath, because there's going to be a lot of different perspectives on that news. And that's what I'm trying to bring you, kind of the more forest through the trees, seeing all the different options, or let's say major options. And please leave a comment if you think I've missed something, right? Help other people out. And I just wanted to bring this to you guys. And please let me know if there's any stocks you want me to analyze. I apologize. It takes me a long time, actually, not to analyze the stocks. It takes me a long time to do the videos. This video took me much less time, just because there's very little editing and I'm just talking. Maybe we'll do more of these when we go through the 10Ks or 10Qs. You'll let me know if you want less editing but more videos, or just well done videos. Leave your comments, please. It's helpful, and I really appreciate the subscriptions. Thanks so much for watching.